There's no other way around it. Georgia's offensive line has got to do better in 2025. They took a step backwards last year from 2023, and it just wasn't a great year last fall for a Georgia offensive line that had several key, experienced, talented leaders on that offensive line. I thought it could have been one of the strengths of the team, and it's safe to say they did not play to their standard. Now they've got to replace several starters, including Tate Ratledge, who was an obvious multi-year starter, a leader, Dylan Fairchild, who's going to be picked in the NFL draft, Jared Wilson, who was a respectable, dependable center last year, and Xavier Truss, who has been with the program for at least 10 years, it felt like. So they're losing a lot of guys, and so now the question is, how do they get better as an offensive line when they're missing 4 of their key players from last year and the year before? So that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Going to be breaking down what Georgia's offensive line could look like in the fall and which players could emerge this spring, because there's a lot of guys who have a big opportunity in front of them. And one of them is Monroe Freeling. Now, this is a guy who did not play very well against Notre Dame. I think everyone saw that, but the talent is obviously there. He played a little bit as a freshman in 2023, and I think he played in all games, all 13 games last year, making 4 starts. And again, the Notre Dame game, he got whipped, okay? It wasn't his best game by a mile, but it's something he can learn from, and he's got to do better. So if you're a Georgia fan, I totally get if you're a little worried about the left tackle spot, because it's the second most important position on the offense, right? It goes quarterback, then left tackle. You've got to protect the quarterback, and they, as a whole, did not do a great job of protecting Gunnar Stockton in that Sugar Bowl game. But Monroe Freeling is not a bad player, right? This Georgia team, they don't sign bad players out of high school. If you're playing at Georgia, you're a really good player. And sometimes they just go against a guy who's better than them. And Notre Dame has a lot of talented, quality defenders, and that group won. They beat Georgia's offensive line, and Monroe Freeling just had a tough time with whoever was in front of him that day, right? It happens. He's not a bad player, and I think his future is bright. At least that's what Stacy Searles had to say before the Sugar Bowl. He said, I think Monroe's future is bright. And I think he knew that it was a big challenge for him, which happened the next day. But I think he may have been a little concerned, and obviously rightfully so, because he didn't have a great game. But the day prior, speaking to us at the media days, he said, I think Monroe's future is bright. He's a talented kid who hasn't reached his full potential. He's done a really good job, and I'm pleased he's here. He's long, he's athletic, and he's a guy who should continue to add more weight and muscle compared to the guys they signed in the 24 class. I think 6 of those 7 that they signed were like 320 pounds and heavier, right? And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But here's how I see Georgia's offensive line shaping up right now with spring practice coming in about a month or two. So at left tackle, I believe it's either going to be Monroe Freeling, who is only going to get better, and Ernest Green, who held down that left tackle job and was a little banged up last year. He didn't play his best. I thought he was the guy who could take a step forward, and maybe he does this year. But I get it's hard to take a big step forward when you're already pretty good and you're dealing with injuries. So a forgettable season for Ernest Green, but hey, it wouldn't surprise me if he landed that left tackle job. But it's going to be between those two like it was last year. At left guard, I think you could slide Micah Morris right in there. This will be his 5th season with the program. He was in that 21 class, and he did not beat out Dylan Fairchild, who took that left guard spot from him. But he should slide in there nicely. He's a good, talented player. So I'm not too concerned with Micah Morris being at left guard. I think has the potential to have a really, really solid year. At center, Drew Bobo, a guy who has played. He's got experience. He's not some, scrub. He's not some young pup who just got there, right? He's been there for a while. I believe this will be his 4th year with the program. So I think they feel okay about him at center. At left guard, up for grabs. Right guard. I think right guard is up for grabs. Someone's got to come up and take it. And I think that this spring you'll see a few guys emerge. We'll see who goes there, but right now that's a question mark for me. And then at right tackle, probably Ernest Green, Bo Hewley, Monroe Freeling, right? Whoever doesn't win that left tackle job, I think you could see him at right tackle, if Bo Hewley or Jamal Merriweather, a kid they signed out of Brunswick late in the process in that 23 class. one of those two guys I think, could make themselves known as a right tackle option. But, it's not completely void of experienced players, right? Micah Morris has played, Monroe Freeling, Ernest Green. They have played a lot of football. Drew Bobo has seen plenty of time out there. So you do have some guys with experience, and it's up to them to continue to get better and develop over time. Now, after that, you've got a lot of big, heavy, talented young pups on the roster. Daniel Calhoun, Marquise Easley, Michael Uini, Jazar Jackson. That guy is a giant. I'd like to know the definition of a giant. If you're 6'7", 350, you're a modern day giant. And Georgia's got some of those giants on the offensive line. He's absolutely one of them. Marcus Harrison is another. That guy's a polar bear, okay? He is big, mean, physical. He was just a 3-star, but he was swallowing up kids left and right up in New York. I mean, just making it look easy, just burying kids in the ground, play after play after play. He's a guy that I think only the elite 5-star Georgia fan really knows about. But I'll tell you what, I saw that dude walking around pregame prior to the Notre Dame game. He wasn't going to play at all. And clearly he wasn't going to play, but he just had that look like he was just about to go out there and maul some dudes. I mean, he's one of the biggest guys on the team who's got a future in professional wrestling if football doesn't work out. But he is a sleeper guy that I loved out of high school, who again, I could really surprise some people. Nair Daniels may have been the heaviest guy they signed in that class, which is saying a lot. I'm not saying he was 400 pounds. I think he may have been towards 400 pounds at his heaviest. So he's another guy who had to come in and work hard to drop some weight. And then Malachi Tolliver, I think, was the only kid that they signed in that 24 class that wasn't like 320 plus pounds when they got to Athens. And I asked Coach Searles about that. I said, hey, how's that young group doing? You signed 7 of them. They're all big. They're all heavy. They're massive, massive kids. What's their progression been like? Here's what he had to say. And of course, you can read all of this over on Dawg Post. But he said, one of the best things that they've done is they've all come in and bought into our offseason program. When you come to Georgia, you have to have a different mentality work-wise. You have to love the grind and get into the grind of getting your body in the right shape to compete at the SEC level. I'm reading from my story, and I just saw a typo. Classic Matt, I'll have to go in there and fix that. But again, you can read all this word for word better than I can over on the website. He said they bought into the nutrition program. They got their weights down. They worked with the scout team, and they practiced against the defense every day, which is a challenge. They've done a good job this year, and they all have a bright future. It's good to have the size, but they also have the work ethic necessary to play here. So listen, they came to Georgia for a reason. Nair Daniels is from New Jersey. Michael Uini is from Texas. Marquise Easley is from Illinois. Marcus Harrison, the guy I just talked about, Mr. Polar Bear, he's from New York. Jazar Jackson is from California, right? Those kids came across the country to play at the University of Georgia because they want to earn a starting job. And they're not coming to sit on the bench very long. They're coming to work, and they're coming to transform their body, get into playing shape, first of all, drop some weight, add more muscle, and, just look and play and get into the correct shape that they need to be in to see the field and possibly earn a starting job. So they've all been in the program for 12 plus months now. They know what they have to do. They know what kind of work ethic they need to have. And the competition is here. It starts day one of spring practice. It is a full-on competition, not only for whoever gets that right guard spot, but who, goes from the third string to the second string, who goes from second string to possibly earning one of the starting jobs, who wins the left tackle job. Can anyone beat out Drew Bobo for the center job? Can anyone beat out Micah Morris for the left guard spot? Who wins the right tackle job? I mean, there's so many question marks on this offensive line, but at the end of the day, it's up to Kirby Smart, Stacey Searles, Mike Bobo to find the 5 best guys and build some continuity, build some chemistry, and stay healthy. Last year, they just had guys coming in, rotating all over the place because they were so banged up. So I'm not 100% putting it on the players and the coaching as far as the offensive line goes. Injuries happen, and I've never seen an offensive line at Georgia more banged up and having to kind of play musical chairs the way they did last year. So if they can stay healthy and kind of stick with a starting 5 that can play together week after week after week, I think this group could be better than the average Georgia fan thinks. They've got 6-7 months to get it ready and improve, because they cannot take another step back. They have to do better opening up the running lanes, and probably because they only have one really good back there. They've got Nate Frazier, and we're going to talk about this for a while, right? We can talk about the running backs. Why? It's Nate Frazier, kind of a big gap than everyone else. That means the offensive line has to do even better of a job than you'd normally expect from them. But at the end of the day, they've got to protect Gunnar Stockton. They need better play at left tackle. They need to continue playing tough, hard-nosed football, winning football. That's what Georgia needs from their offensive linemen in 2025. We'll see who earns these starting roles. We'll keep a close eye on it this spring. Thanks for watching. Again, you can read all of this over on Dawg Post. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something. Thanks for watching. I'll see you over on the website.